Today's listener question is going to touch on a number of different aspects that include what do we do when we are still struggling with something that has plagued us for a while? What do we do when we bump up against self judgment? And I'm also going to talk a little bit about specifically intuitive eating as well. So the question says, my 43rd birthday is in a few weeks, and I feel so stupid that I am still struggling with my relationship with food. I read intuitive eating years ago and some other food freedom books, but I'm still not over my food stuff. How do I navigate these feelings? First of all, to this listener, happy early birthday. I hope that you have a wonderful entrance into your 43rd year. And I'm so glad that I can support you during this time. I am sorry that you are struggling with your relationship with food. Not because that means that you've done anything wrong, not because that means that you've missed some secret formula for how to be past this and get this right, but simply because I know how hard it is to struggle with your relationship with food. And so I'm sending you a lot of love. And I hope that what I share in today's episode um, will be like a birthday gift for you. That is my hope. So, the first thing that I noticed when I read this question was the self judgment, right? We are just words into this question. And this listener mentions, I feel so stupid that I am still struggling with my relationship with food, right? So, there is judgment of being stupid. And there's also judgment that you are not past this struggle yet. And when I work with women, and just so you know, currently as a coach, I am working with private clients in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. I have private clients who are in all of those different decades. And I bet that every single one of them at one point or another, whether it's in a private coaching session, whether it's when they're messaging me on Voxer, whether it's when we had our consultation before we started working together, I bet every single one of them has said to me once, if not more, some version of this is stupid, or this is silly, or I know this is vain, but before they share with me what they're experiencing, right? And I bring this up because I want you to know that it's not uncommon for us to experience self judgment around our challenges. And all that that means is that we have an opportunity to shift into curiosity. I love the phrase shifting from judgment to curiosity because when we're judging ourselves, we are disconnected from ourselves. And when we want to reconnect with ourselves, a beautiful way to get from the disconnection of judgment is through curiosity. Curiosity allows us to get to a place where we can reconnect. And in this instance, a great way to be curious with yourself is to say, what else might it mean that I am struggling with my relationship with food? Or what else might it mean that my relationship with food has been a challenge for me, over the course of my life or over the last decade or over the last couple of years? I don't know exactly how long this person has been struggling with their relationship with food, but being curious with yourself, what else might that mean? And in this instance, this person is making it mean number one, that they've been struggling for too long, and number two, that they're stupid, right? That's the meaning that's been assigned here. But we want to use curiosity to help to shift away from judgment and to reconnect with you with yourself by asking, what else might this mean other than that you are stupid? And there are so many reasons why we might struggle with something, with anything. And every single human being is struggling with things right now. It is a part of our humanness. It is a reality of humanity. None of us are perfect. None of us are operating within some perfect existence. We all have things that are challenging. And depending on who you are, this may be a time in your life where you feel like you are having a lot of challenges. You may be in a season where you feel like you are having fewer challenges than you have in the past, but even in those seasons, there are still challenges. It is an inevitable part of our human existence. And so I do think that we sometimes run into a perfectionist mindset about struggle. And we have this idea that we need to arrive at a place where we are not struggling with anything anymore. If that is your belief, if that is your goal, I promise you that you are always going to feel like you're failing. I promise you that you're always going to feel like you're falling short. And I promise you that no matter how much growth or healing or, success or whatever it might be that you experience, that it is never going to be enough because it's never going to be that. You are never going to be in a situation where you are not struggling with anything. And listen, it's called struggle for a reason, right? Very few of us are like thrilled about our struggles, but every single one of us has them. And so we have to release the perfectionism around struggle. And once we do that, we can be curious with ourselves. What else might this mean other than the fact that you're stupid? When it comes to our relationship with food, I'm just going to rattle off a couple reasons why you might be struggling with your relationship with food. Number one, social conditioning influenced by diet culture, right? Diet culture exists. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And because of diet culture messaging, at a societal level, at a cultural level, many people struggle in their relationship with food. So that could be one reason. Maybe personal experiences you've had in your life in relationships. Maybe you saw one of your parents really struggling with food. Maybe you heard your mom talking poorly about her body. Maybe you lived in a house where there was food scarcity. Maybe you lived in a house where there was messaging around how important it was for you to clean your plate and that it was more important for you to override messages that your body was sending you in order to never be wasteful, right? Like all of these things could be true. Maybe you've experienced body changes and that is feeling hard for you. And because we're told that we should we're told by diet culture that we should control our bodies with food when we experience body changes, that can make our relationship with food feel challenging. These are just a couple of things that I literally can rattle off without knowing anything more about you, the person who wrote in this question, or anything more about anybody who might be listening who's struggling with food. Those are just a couple reasons that could be contributing to why you're struggling in your relationship with food that have nothing to do with you being stupid, right? Lots of other things that this could mean. So, what else might it mean? It might mean that you've been, exposed to diet culture and that it's had an impact on you. It might be that you were raised in an environment where healthy relationship with food was really challenging to experience. It might be that you have had situations in your life where you have either intentionally or unintentionally cut off the attunement to your body's signals, right? Sometimes that can be a trauma response. Sometimes we can intentionally override our body's signals because we feel like that's what we're supposed to do. There are so many reasons why you might be struggling in your relationship with food, none of them having anything to do with the fact that you are stupid. And so we want to be curious with that self judgment. And of course, I'm going to highlight how important self compassion is here. There's an entire unmeasured podcast episode, a solo episode that I did on self compassion. If you haven't listened to it or you haven't listened to it in a while, I highly encourage you to go check that out. It's one of the earliest episodes. And I am going to walk you through how to practice self-compassion in your life, in your relationship with yourself. But for the purposes of this episode, I'm just going to say that there are three components to self-compassion according to Dr. Kristen Neff. They are mindfulness, common humanity, and kindness, and we're going to need all of them here, right? Mindfulness is what you're experiencing, identifying what you are experiencing without over identifying with it. So saying what you are experiencing. It feels hard to be struggling in my relationship with food. I wish that this wasn't my reality. I I wish that I was experiencing more food freedom or ease. This feel when I think about it, my chest gets tight or my heart starts to race or I cry because I'm sad. Whatever it might be, right? Mindfulness, what are you experiencing? Give it a voice, give it words without making it your entire identity. Common humanity, you are not alone in this. So many people struggle in their relationship with food. And every single human being is struggling with something or some things in their life right now, right? You are not alone in this experience. And then offering yourself kindness. You deserve to experience healing around this, and it is possible for you. Progress, healing, growth, more ease, more freedom than what you have in this moment is possible for you. And it's not too late, and you're not too far gone, and you're not too stupid to be able to experience that. So, offering yourself that kindness. And again, you want to deep dive on self compassion, go listen to that episode because I think if you are resonating with this question at all today, it will be really, really supportive and helpful. So, we're naming the self judgment, we're looking at the self judgment, we are practicing curiosity with ourselves. What else might this mean other than the thing that I'm judging myself for right now? When you judge yourself for having a human experience, on some level, you make it mean that you are bad, right? At the root of that is something is wrong with me, and that's why I'm experiencing that. I am bad, and that's why I haven't been able to get good at this thing. And so we want to shift from that judgment to curiosity. We want to shift from that perfectionist mindset into that self compassion. Now, when we talk about intuitive eating, because this question mentioned intuitive eating specifically, right? I've read the book Intuitive Eating. I've read some other food freedom books. Awesome. I love that. I think that's an amazing place to start. And intuitive eating is a wonderful set of principles to help you to create the relationship with food that you are meant to experience, right? A relationship with food that is really guided by the messages that your body's sending to you. It's really about body care and respect and listening to that body wisdom and allowing that to guide you while also acknowledging gentle nutrition principles and movement and body image and all of these components that play into our relationship with food. So for anyone who's interested in intuitive eating, I highly recommend reading the original book Intuitive Eating. It's incredible. Evelyn Tribbley and Elise Reich wrote that book. They are the founders of intuitive eating, and the principles are profound. And it sounds like this person, similar to myself and similar to so many of us, read this book and it spoke to them, right? When I read intuitive eating, it spoke to me. I was like, wow, this is the first time in my life that eating feels like it really makes sense. Like, this makes sense. Things are clicking into place for me here. Like, this really, really makes sense. And many of us have that experience when we hear about intuitive eating or we read the book Intuitive Eating. And that's awesome. But here's what I want to say. Reading something, resonating with something, even understanding something is different from embodying it, right? You can read something, you can understand it, you can relate to it. And that doesn't mean that it is your reality. That doesn't mean that you're experiencing it. That doesn't mean that you're embodying it. And there is a path from, point A to point B. And of course, it's not a perfectly straight line and there's a lot of nuance to this, but I just want to call out that reading books and resonating with something is not the same as embodying it. And that doesn't, and you reading something and instantly embodying and not instantly embodying it doesn't mean that you're stupid or doing something wrong. It takes time, it takes practice. And I will also say that intuitive eating takes personalization. It is There are principles, yes. There are pillars, principles of intuitive eating, but we have to personalize those principles. We have to personalize those pillars, and we have to practice them. And it takes time. And you're not doing anything wrong, and you're not stupid, and you're not bad if that doesn't happen when you read the book Intuitive Eating, or if it doesn't happen instantly. It takes time, it takes practice, and it takes personalization. The last thing that I really want to call out here and encourage you around is that when something is a big deal for you, treat it that way. Like I said, every human being is struggling with one or more things. And something that might come really easily to someone or really naturally to someone, or maybe they just haven't had the experiences that have made something like their relationship with food challenging, right? There are some people, and in the work that I do, these people feel few and far between, but they do exist. People who just have a very easy relationship with food and they have their whole life and it's not a challenge for them. Great. That makes me so happy for them because they're human beings. They do have other challenges, they do have other struggles, but maybe their relationship with food is and really has always been easy for them. That means that something that is a big deal to someone who is struggling with their relationship with food or has felt challenged in their relationship with food for a long time, that something might be a big deal to the person who's had the struggles and the challenges with food and is not that big of a deal to the person who never has. So, someone who's had a lifelong, easy relationship with food might be able to go to a bakery and get a chocolate croissant and eat the chocolate croissant and eat most of the chocolate croissant and then, throw away the last couple bites and go on with their day and think nothing of it. Someone who's had a challenging relationship with food or is struggling in their relationship with food, that experience might, for them to have that experience, might be a really, really, really big deal. And what is a big deal to you might not be a big deal to the next person. What is a big deal to them might not be a big deal to you. That's okay. We're allowed to have our own things that are big deals. If something is a big deal for you, treat it that way. Assume that it is going to require extra attention, extra time, and extra intention. Okay. And celebrate it when there is progress, when there is growth, no matter how maybe micro or tiny those moments might seem. Again, to someone who has a really easy relationship with food, eating a chocolate croissant and it being no big deal, that might not seem like a big moment to them. That might not seem important. That might not seem like something worth celebrating. If you've been struggling with your relationship with food for years and years, being able to have that moment, that's a little thing, that's a big thing. And I want to encourage you to celebrate it big, to acknowledge it, right? It's so important. My son, he just played on his first ever team. He was on a cross country team, and this was a big deal for him. And I'm not going to go into like details of of why or anything because that's his story, but I will just say it was a really big deal to him. He has plenty of friends, and I have plenty of friends who have kids who have played on, 10,000 teams at this point. They love it. They're begging their parents to sign them up for all of the team sports. And it's not a big deal to them to sign up for a team, to complete a season being on a team. But for my kiddo, this was a huge deal. And so when he had his cross country championships on Saturday, we made sure to celebrate that night. We made sure to call it out, to reflect back to him how proud of him we are. I mean, always, we're always proud of him and we tell him that often, but in this particular instance, how proud of him we were and we are because this took a lot of attention and time and intention for him. And yeah, while it might not have been that big of a deal to many of his teammates, it was a big deal for him. And so we made sure to acknowledge that and to celebrate him and to highlight those little moments of progress. Because when something is a big deal for you, every micro move forward is a big deal, even if to someone on the outside looking in, it looks like the tiniest little thing. You know how much it took to move that needle one speck of an inch forward. And so you get to acknowledge that for yourself. And so to this birthday girl, what I would say to you on how to navigate these feelings, reflect on the self judgment with curiosity, shift from the perfectionist mindset into self compassion. Remember that intuitive eating is a wonderful set of principles, and I'm so glad that you read it and related to it. But it is going to take time and practice and personalization for you to feel like you are embodying it and you have done nothing wrong, that reading those books didn't make everything click into place when it comes to the actual day-to-day reality that you are living in. And acknowledge when something is a big deal for you and treat it that way. Assume that it's going to take that extra attention, time, and intention, and celebrate those moments of progress.